Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good
Um,
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the panel discussion on skill development in AM. I would firstly like to welcome our panelists. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Bibu Ahuja. I'm the CTO of Objectify, and I'll be moderating this session on skill development in additive manufacturing. I would like to welcome our panelists. Firstly, Mr. D.K. Sharma, member of the APEX Committee, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. Mr. Vaman Kulkarni, ex-director, Honeywell Technology Solutions. Dr. Deepa Srinivasan,
Hello.
Engineer, Pratt and Whitney R&D Center, Bangalore. And Mr. Arpit Sahu, co-founder, Objectify Technologies. Welcome everyone for the panel discussion. I would like to initiate the panel discussion firstly with a general question to all, and I would like to know your view on how do we foresee the transformation of the manufacturing industry in the post-pandemic era and the skill set that is required to sustain the future opportunities and challenges. So if we could start with Mr. D.K. Sharma. Sir, I would request you for your views on the topic.
Thank you, Bigu, and thanks for having me here to the first ever AMIC 21. Wonderful job being done today. I appreciate whatever work I just heard and saw the film you guys are doing. It's really commendable, particularly in view of the situation, current times, what we are undergoing through. It's been very, very challenging for each one of us. These times as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as an industry, as a country as a whole. So I think in these times to keep the morale high and join us together is something very, good to get connected and forget all the TV, what we see on TV every day. So we've just heard Professor Ashutosh. I think nothing can be said better than what he said, the context. All positivity, because we all know, we talk in terms of statistics, how young country we are. And looking at both of you and the team, Brigo and both the Sahus, it's very, very heartening to see, and particularly people like me are enthused to support more and more to whatever cause you are doing. So I would put it this way, we may talk about scale, we may talk about AM, there are domain knowledge experts over here. I would rather think a little deeper in terms of leadership qualities, the role of the leaders to make this transformation. You are already doing by organizing such meetings, but this young country, what we have in front of us, rather than calling jobless or unemployed, I am looking at how do we employ them fruitfully to make success of any technology. So what I feel is that your program name is Atma Mahatva, self-skilling. I have been a part of many initiatives of Atma Nirbhar as a TAGMA president, now as a part of the committee. So there are three things I very strongly believe in. One is technology absorption. Who will do it? We will do it as leaders, industry leaders. The second is innovation, and the third is policy making. So technology, you guys are very, very experts. Once you have decided which industry to serve, which market to serve, having said that, if we decide the business model you want to achieve, and the third thing is, you know very well what it takes or what skills do you want to serve that technology segment. So that's the easier part. The how part is a little difficult. How do we motivate this young team what we have rather than being called as grease monkeys, to migrate it to, joining a very, I should be saying that or not, sexy domain, because once a young guy goes to the service sector, he finds very beautiful environment to work with, very exciting. On the other hand, you have shop floors, grease, full of grease. Is it very exciting for the young guys? Probably not. So our job as a leader is to create that environment and make an image of the manufacturing that look, it could be much better than what the careers to pursue in this domain. So this how part is something more difficult than the easier part of what. So I am a tool maker basically. Okay. So and I have been working for a company for the last 4 decades, which has really believed in technology, had lots of commitment to make it happen, involving youngsters, and we made it. Making BrahMos missile completely, and now we are on the verge of exporting it to the other countries, making GSLV, PSLV engines in our shop. So, we heard that it is not rocket science. So, what is a ventilator, yaar? What is this oxygen concentrator that we cannot make? So that belief has to be there. And one last line in the opening session, I would say that being a tool maker, I'm a worshipper of Japan as far as tool making is concerned. So for them, tool making is not a profession; it is a religion for them. So that gets reminded me when you talk of AM today. I think if you treat this as a religion, sky is the limit. Probably I can talk about the opportunities. Professor Sharma has spoken already about the huge opportunities on the anvil. How part is something which we need to be worried about, and I'm sure with these type of networking and opportunity to hear a whole lot of leaders here, I'm sure we are going to make it. So all the very best. I give it back to you.
Thank you, sir. Any comments, woman, sir, Deepa ma'am, Arpit, any comments that you add, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank both Ankit and Arpit for inviting me to be part of this panel discussion. As Sharmaji rightly put, in the current situation, it is very important for all of us to keep connected and then look for the bigger opportunities. As part of Atma, what India is planning to do, and then what you are driving as part of this is very important. Out of this Industry 4.0, the smart manufacturing is definitely catching a lot of attention. India has not done so good in the area of manufacturing in the last 3 decades, I would say. But now this is the biggest opportunity what we have got to be part of this smart manufacturing initiatives. The current situation has opened up completely. One is self-reliance, and other one is how we can globally play a bigger role in the area of manufacturing. The conventional manufacturing is definitely an opportunity which we can further develop. But the new technology, the additive manufacturing, which we are talking about, and Objectify is leading this technology in last 3-4 years in the country. That is going to be a big way forward in the next 10 years. It is definitely going to grow, and it is going to completely change the way the manufacturing is going to shape up in next 10 years. It's not going to replace the conventional manufacturing. It is going to complement, and at the same time, how we can come out with a different innovative products, which was the manufacturing one of the constraints to get in there as part of the product innovation. This is completely opening up that area, really come out with the innovative products, do it at much faster cycle time, and do it at a lower cost. So that is what additive is going to play a big role as part of smart manufacturing initiative. in the current scenarios, we need to stay tuned, look at all the different opportunities, bring all the industries together. We have the service industry, and then we have the both the private as well as the public sector, which want to leverage on this additive manufacturing technology, and then the educational institutions, which is providing those skilled manpower and the resources. Of course, we definitely need to have some bigger policies from the government to take this to the next level. So we just need to collaborate very closely with all these four key players and then make it happen. So in that direction, I think this conference is going to play a very important role. That's my view, Rigo.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Maybe we can continue with that point, and I think I would like to ask Deepa ma'am and Arpit for their views on what do they feel is required as skills for a career in manufacturing, and how our education and the skill development industry in India needs to modify its approach for developing candidates suitable for the additive manufacturing industry. So if we could continue on that point and your views, Arpit, please, if you could start.
Yes. So thank you, Brigu, for the question, and thank you, Sharma sir and Kulkarni sir and Deepa ma'am for joining us today. So I think in India, we are right now at a stage when in 90s we had the issue with CNC machining candidates and CAD engineers. At this point of time, AM is a field that is finding a lot of end users, which in turn is increasing the overall output of industries, which in turn is requiring a lot of candidates in the AM sector. So right now, AM as a sector has been merged specifically with the mechanical engineering domain at the colleges or even ITIs, which needs to be given a separate section, just like you have multiple number of profiles that you require for an AM engineer. Maybe somebody directly at the shop floor, somebody at the design level. So I think there needs to be a mindset both at the polytechniques, ITIs, and engineering colleges to include that. I would like to have Deepa ma'am's view on it.
Sure. Thanks, Brigu and Arpit, and congratulations to the Objectify team for conducting this despite having postponement and continuing with the same positivity as the esteemed distinguished earlier speakers also mentioned. I think the need of the day in terms of the education, personally, what I feel is very strong curricula with both metallurgy and design aspects that is needed as a prelude to additive manufacturing. I've seen that personally in the last 10 years. A lot of people find it easy to jump into it. In fact, Tatas were given the task of actually skilling, setting up an institute a few years ago for Industry 4.0. But Industry 4.0 is, of course, robotics, automation, and all that. But what I find a little bit of a lacuna is this particular manufacturing technology. If, unlike conventional casting or wrought product or even machining, like Mr. Sharma mentioned, or fabrication, remember they have 100+ years of legacy, and we have standards available, bodies available. Whereas in additive, even yesterday morning or this morning, somebody said, somebody was asking me from Singapore, what do you think are the handicaps in terms of, is it only a buzzword? So in terms of skills, I definitely feel, you need to have more offline skills in terms of programming, robotics, optics, physics-based stuff. Only then we can indigenously march ahead in this particular field. So if I were to start, if I was given, Sharma took me in the Apex body and asked for my inputs there to put on a white paper to Dr. Ashutosh Sharma, I would say definitely put this as apart from SolidWorks and the basic mechanical engineering and metallurgy, you need specific things, specific skill sets in these two fields. And that comes back to your first question. Mr. Kulkarni and Mr. Sharma really spoke very nicely. What I would like to add to that is to our post-pandemic. Particularly, I like the word post. Please emphasize that many more times. We really want to go to post very, very soon. And I like to give shakkar in your mouth for saying post-pandemic today. Looking at the chart in Bangalore, Karnataka, it peaked on 9th May, so the curve is already down. But anyway, so if I was to give him a white paper, then I would say first 2 years of basic engineering, something you need to emphasize on for building the additive. And this is where I think India can play a lead. Traditionally, we have some of the best, if you take from Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, we have some of the best materials and design skills ever known. Even investment casting originated in India, if you remember. Unfortunately, because of all the plunderings, we lost it. So these are some of the areas where we could focus on skill development specific to additive and offer it, through Objectify Technologies and who are pioneers, and others and Government of India offer it as a course to the rest of the world. And believe, like Mr. Sharma said, we are the epicenter in that absolute positive optimism backed by our skills. So I would say I have not seen, I know some of the NITs and IITs have started an MTech in additive. If you're going to use a skill development, not at the shop floor level, and of course I would like to add to Mr. Sharma's point, additive is a very clean, no grease. Of course, you have to have masks for powder inhalation. It's a very, very clean, beautiful, air-conditioned shop floor, particularly additive, So, but I agree with Mr. Kulkarni also. The fact that not everything needs to be additive, we need to weigh the pros and cons. And even yesterday I was telling, we need to find the low-hanging fruit, and then it literally skyrockets, and we have the ability to do that. I see from the list of your speakers also. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sharma sir, Kulkarni sir, anything that you would like to add?
Well, I can say response to Madam Deepa that you are already on board. Okay. Immediately after this conference or the session, please shoot out that white paper to me. I need your help in chalking out the future for AM. I think very, very valid points, madam, you have said. But I also very strongly believe, to be learning from the mistakes. I'm not afraid of mistakes. Never. I rather encourage and our reward failures. That is what I have been doing all throughout my career. If you shout at people why this has gone wrong, so he will go into the shell. Particularly youngsters, when they say that a lot of precious money has gone into something. So we need to encourage the youngsters by allowing them failures and of course celebrating their successes, what you are doing through this initiative. But a hands-on experience is a must. Sometimes, we are just painting a very rosy picture in terms of jargons and showing some presentations. I think what is required is, let me tell you that we bought a small printer in our innovation lab and allowed people from 14 businesses, the top youngsters, very enthusiastic, were to, do whatever they felt like. So they came out with such brilliant, innovative ideas and made certain products which could substitute the existing, cumbersomely manufactured, complicated parts in a very easy manner. But what I would like to emphasize over here is, we Indians are very good in getting connected like this. Okay, there is a need. First wave came, and there came an order to my company for making 5,000 valves. So my aerospace division of Godrej, we made use of those fantastic machines and gave 5,000 ventilator parts. Somebody assembled, and what we hear and watched on the TV yesterday is those got distributed to the entire country, but they are lying unused. So why I say the service industry, what you touched upon, why we are not like service industry. We are very good at manufacturing something, but we tend to forget about the skills required to operate that. I'm bringing another dimension. I'm not bringing about the product alone. I think Professor touched upon this point that, the entire gamut of things around that product. if we have made, please give confidence to the user that it is workable, not in isolation. I remember a story whereby conformal cooling, I was very excited to see how my engineers can do that. One boy came to me saying that, sir, we can do fantastic, piece of work by additive manufacturing. Please allow me, sanction me this kind of a budget. That's how I got in touch with some of the friends who are present over here. And I was so shocked and amazed to see the kind of product improvement they have done, and the die in which that insert went by conformal cooling. It made a huge productivity improvement. So, but unless you are able to show, I'm calling myself grease monkey. If in case you don't show the real value of that product to the end user, I think it is of no use. So I was very pained to see the ventilators made at fantastic speed, probably got distributed also across the country, but lying as junk. I heard some of the doctors saving their skin by saying that we were not backed up by the education how to operate them. So that is where the skill element becomes very, very important. So I conclude my point by saying that unless we allow youngsters to have the hands-on experience on the printer, I would love to see a small printer with Professor just mentioned that he would like to make statues on his table. Of course, we are not that old now. We have a long way to go to make our own statues as of now. But allowing people, youngsters to fiddle with it, challenge their minds, make a team of designers as well as the users of the metallurgists to put in their brains together and find substitutes. So I think if we really want to make this technology scaled up, we should do carpet bombing. We should not really be afraid of some failures which may come across. But I think there will be a lot of successes more than failures, and that's the best way to acquire skills. This is what I strongly believe in. I invited Dr. Kalam to inaugurate one of our sessions, and whereby he went to our hospital, and in a small auditorium he saw some of the people wearing white coats. On the other hand, we were not wearing white coats. So obviously those other lot was doctors. He asked us to stand up and he pointed at the doctors. Do you ever use the stents made by these engineers? And there was a pin drop silence in the auditorium. So we need to encourage experiments. We need to encourage innovation to make this happen. And I'm very confident looking at all of you, interacting with all of you, and with the insights from Madam like Deepa, who's I just could make out the excitement that you have a lot of ideas to put it in a structured manner as to what needs to be done for AM. I would definitely like to work with you and make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kulkarni sir, if you would have something to add, and also maybe add a bit on the collaboration required between the education, the skill development, and the industry. We all know that the collaboration is absolutely required, but if you could elaborate more on how most effective this collaboration could work, and your comments on that, please.
Sure, Rigo. In fact, that's the point which bridges from the first question to the next question, which I wanted to just touch upon. The most important thing in the current situation and scenario for India, from both Atmanirbhar as well as playing a bigger global role, is the speed at which we move forward. So typically our educational system has been more theoretical and less of practical exposures. That is an area I think which is definitely very, very key for especially in the additive manufacturing industry. We have excellent industries who have invested and then who are ready to take it to the next level. And education institutions are doing on their own lot of skill development as they understand. But what is missing is the big collaboration between the industry and the educational institutions. As Sharmaji rightly mentioned, it has to be a hands-on experience which is required, and it is definitely an uphill task, bringing the industry and the education institutions together and then make it happen. I have spoken with quite a few education institutions how we can make it happen, how the industry can collaborate, how this course can be more practically oriented. One is AM process itself. It's a very it's can build anything and everything. There is still a lot of technology which is involved in optimizing on the building process itself, whether it is laser sintering or it is electron beam melting or binder jet. So I definitely feel there is still quite a bit of technology to optimize on everything, whether it is on the energy source or it is how we can orient the part, how we can support the part, and then how we can manage the thermal cycles which are happening inside the build chamber. So it's still definitely a technology which needs to be mastered. And most of the curriculum which is there in many of the NITs or IITs, it will be very, very theoretical. When they really go to the shop floor, they still have to do a lot of learning. If that part is introduced right when they're learning and they get that exposures, so allow them to build some of the parts on their own. It's a hard way to learn. They will fail first time, they will fail second time also, but in the process they will learn a lot. So that is the key piece of it as part of the industry collaboration. The next thing is in the area of research and innovation which needs to happen. Definitely a lot of research needs to happen in the area of metallurgy and material science technology, which is very, very closely related to the AM process itself. As Deepa Madam rightly mentioned, that's definitely an area. Some pockets of research is happening, especially in new material development, microstructural studies which is happening. And again, that has to be linked with the problem what some of the industries are facing. Focus on those specific materials which will gather much more interest in the coming years to come. I was very happy to see the technology development for copper materials which Objectify come out and then demonstrated. Those are the things I think which will definitely play a much bigger role as we move along. The third piece which most of us tend to give a lower priority, which is especially at the education institutions and the industry need to focus, is on design for additive manufacturing. All the benefits what we talk about, what we get out of additive manufacturing, if we don't go through a systematic approach of design for additive manufacturing, you will not get it. Whether it is getting a innovative product which will give a much better performance, whether it is a turbine blade or it is some heat exchangers or any simple flow duct also, how we can get a better performance than what is conventionally being offered. So that becomes a big differentiator in terms of the product development things which could happen. And one is the product innovation which could happen, leveraging the free-form fabrication which additive is enabling. The other piece of it is you still need to keep in mind the new things what additive is enabling, whether it is lattice structures or it is the topology optimization, and Sharmaji talked about conformal cooling related things. Those are the things earlier we thought it is not possible with the conventional thing. So, but with additive, all those benefits you are likely to get. Unless you think of those things early in the part of design, you will not be able to incorporate those things in the later stages of your design. So that becomes a very key thing. And third thing, of course, is the very clear understanding of the AM process, which we keep in mind when we design the product. I talked about how to have a minimum support. it's still an experience which is tell us either no support or minimum support, but at the same time make sure that there is enough heat dissipation which happens, because the secondary function of support is to provide that heat dissipation thing. So that is an area which definitely comes only by hands-on experience. So I think those are the areas of big collaboration which industry and education institutions should happen. It is good to have that AIM dedicated lab in all the IITs and NITs, and they should have their own infrastructure so that students have the freedom to do it. But if you disconnect from the industry what is happening, then it's not going to have a high focus on what industry is really looking at. So that is what I feel, which we need to focus on.
Thank you, sir. Deepa ma'am, I again connecting to that, and also I would like your views on how do you see the fundamental science and research specific for AM going in future 5 years. What do you really think should be the research topics that we should be looking at and developing our scientific knowledge on that? And also we had a question from an audience, from Kevin from Materialize. He wanted to know about you made a comment about low-hanging fruits, and he wanted to know how to expedite the process of identifying these low-hanging fruits, in your opinion, how to do that. So if you could give your opinion on those two topics, please.
Sure. Thanks a lot. I'll first take Kevin's question. Thanks for asking that. Actually, it also relates. I was going to bring in that point to the education versus industry. I think it has to. I will first answer Kevin's question with my own example. And as I said yesterday, I gave a talk in the Singapore A-Star group, where being in both my previous organizations, I am now with Pratt & Whitney, we developed indigenously, partnering, I think Arpit and you know very well, Ankit also knows, partnering with the local ecosystem. And I'm very proud to say Intech DMLS, they were just a startup 6 years ago. And I was from GE, and we took faith in that. Even though we had machines in-house, we experimented with the ecosystem within India and developed more than a dozen hot gas turbine components. I mean, people don't think it's a fantasy unless I show them data, people are not willing to believe me. So, Mr. Kevin, that is a low-hanging fruit. In part, the low-hanging fruit, the requirement of the opportunity is best at least 10-20% apart from white papers to come from the user. So, for example, indigenous automotive industries, space industries, where we have an indigenous design. Whereas aerospace, in the sense aero engines, I still don't think we have complete, with due respects to colleagues from HAL, NAL and all the DRDO labs, I don't think we have complete indigenous design. So the low-hanging opportunity, at least 20% it should succeed. Only then it gives you a confidence level. I might have done 30 projects, out of which at least 6 went into fruition from technology TRL level 2, sometimes even 1, starting with the university, and I'll touch upon that in a moment, all the way up to TRL level 8, and which was the hardest part in going from 5 to 8. To scale it up via AIM was a nightmare. I didn't sleep for 3 or 4 months, but accelerated technology development. And the other low-hanging fruit, and that bears on the education industry question that you asked, is the fact that we need to have from bottoms-up and top-down approach. What is a bottoms-up approach? Again, from my own example, we always had in the last 10 years student interns coming and doing projects in our group, small projects. So if this is the bottoms-up approach, if many of the students come and do small analysis, small DFAM, like he said, towards any need for Objectify, for a possible next in line, next year R&D, not 5 years later, the ecosystem at the bottom level is built up. So we need to nurture the seeds, right? And then what is a top-down? I would like, again, a comment from Mr. Sharma, and later would be very happy to connect with him offline, is that now everything is, since it's only 3 or 4 years old, the sort of shoots are building up in India as far as AIM, with pioneers like you people who are doing a fantastic job actually. While it beholds for the industry to give small projects to the education institutions for people like you, people like OEMs like us. At the top level, if it is not individual connections, I know ISRO is talking to institutions and talking to you people, getting their parts done. Maybe Godrej is doing small parts. So at the top level, I would definitely recommend, we are at the stage of maturity now after 5 years in the ecosystem, that instead of individual going and go for business flourishing as well as the education and the overall community flourishing, there needs to be a core committee to help identify the needs of the low-hanging fruits. So I was able to do it because I worked in the gas turbine industry for 15-16 years. I may also have a knack, and we may have a little bit of a heavy pocket 3-4 years ago. Today, with all the stringent things, actually, to be honest, Mr. Sharma, now I find that there's more money because the travel money is all shrunk. Nobody has bought capital equipment. So, to go back to your first point, Brigu, I would just say with a very positive, there's plenty of money now. Nobody has traveled, nobody has consumed electricity in their offices except for hardworking people like you, you all who go to the shop floor and do for us. So there is actually money available right now for doing all these little things. Engage with students and build the shoots, as part of the skill development education system. That way, see, everything takes time to nourish and flourish. Even the faculty members will get tuned to that area. Low-hanging fruit as an industry is coming and identifying the need. I'm sure Arpit, and you will agree, and Ankit, how many times you have to knock on the doors of possible products. You shouldn't have to do that. If there's a committee to say we have 16 service providers of additive manufacturing, 22 educational institutions, I think these are the rough numbers that I have right now, which have an ecosystem, let us multiply it at least by 10 in the next 1 year. We can do it. And that is the only way for your business to grow and for everybody to stay connected. Cooperation of science and technology. Without, of course, infringement or any IP or anything.
Right. I think there was a question on the role that the government can also play. And if there are any comments, very quick comments, because we've crossed our time limit. So anything that we really expect from the government.
Yeah, I would only like to summarize, not only government, government looks for, everybody looks for government. I think nothing better explained than Professor Ashutosh a while ago. And Madam is talking about money. Money is available. But I think it needs to be structured, as you mentioned, Madam. I think it should be put at the right place. So each one of us present over here have some responsibility. That's what I feel. Educational institutes have to run the courses as recommended by, likes of Madam Srinivasan. And she would have a better idea, hands-on. She's just narrated the experience she's gone through. So we would not like to reinvent the wheel. Let's go and make that happen in the educational institutions. They are all upbeat about working in these new technology areas. And when it comes to trade associations like TAGMA, ACMA, SIAM, and all that, their responsibility is to encourage youngsters and reward them with those small experimentation which she spoke about a while ago. I think that will provide a huge motivation to the students, not only to the students, then youngsters who are not really wanted an employment. They would definitely like to be the employers one day. So those ambitious people, they are upbeat about not the money alone. Please believe me, money is not the criteria. You need to create a spark in them and encourage them. So we can do anything under the sun. So that is the job of trade associations like TAGMA, and I'm working in that direction. I will encourage more and more enterprises and who make investment. As she said, that now you have deeper pockets, you have saved some money and all. But the money should be spent in the right direction. So that's where your call. And as I mentioned, please, for the time being, if you are going to be a long-term player, please don't think about saving money or making all the money in these 2 years. But if you treat this as a religion and work in the ecosystem, I think we are going to make it happen. A professor mentioned about localization, and I very strongly believe in localization. What is that something which we cannot do? The kind of intelligence what we have, the kind of brain power what we have, the kind of facilities which we are going to create, we can be very, very positive about it. Government, to answer your question, there are 20 technology centers at the cost of 200 crores each is coming up. We are conceiving that. And there are going to be 100 extension centers, each costing 20 crores. So there is a corpus, huge money is available, madam. You said right, but then unless we get representation and quickly and channelize our thoughts also, we will be, falling short in providing speed, as Mr. Kulkarni mentioned. I think this is, just to summarize, the culture of innovation, the mindset change into adopting futuristic technologies, and the speed. These three key things will make our day or make our future. This is what I very strongly believe, and I would love to, be in touch with you. I need more and more ideas. I need your help in identifying areas where we should put in money, and I will try my best to, fructify them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. With that, I would like to thank our panelists. Thank you for the lovely session. Thank you for your opinions. Thank you for your views. I hope we can have a very fruitful conference and hope to talk to all of you in future. Thank you very much.
All the very best.
Thank you. Thanks. All the very best for the conference, and then we'll stay connected.
Thank you.
Thank you.